It seems that Manchester United have decided not to sack Erik ten Hag, but in today's video, we're going to discuss why Thomas Tuchel, and yes, I am a Chelsea fan, so this is going to hurt me trying to talk about this with a straight face, and because I don't want him to join Manchester United as a Chelsea fan, as you can tell from behind me. But in today's video, we're going to get into why I think he's the perfect appointment for Manchester United. Now, to understand why there needs to be change in the first place at Manchester United, we do just need to talk about Erik ten Hag and his start to the season, because it has just been very poor. Last season was, of course, really poor anyway, but this season they've only won 2 of their opening 7 games, and they're now sitting 14th in the Premier League with their worst start to a season ever. Now, I'm sure you're all aware by now, there's plenty of Twitter accounts and YouTube channels that have already gone into the detail of Ten Hag's deficiencies at Manchester United and what's gone wrong, his 3-1-6, the lack of presence in the middle of the pitch, the defending transitions due to that, and the overall spacing between the team. All these little platforming tweaks that I believe need to be made at Manchester United to get the best out of their players, especially the likes of Kobbie Mainoo. And that leads me on to Thomas Tuchel, who I think would be the perfect appointment for Manchester United. But to understand that, we have to assess his time at Chelsea back in 2021. And it all centres around this quote for me: "We will build a team nobody wants to play against." I think it was moments like these that Chelsea fans really bought into of Thomas Tuchel, and he really aimed to sort of strip things back, make it simple, and as he says, make Chelsea a team that is a nuisance to play against, and they're going to get something out of a game, even if it is a draw. As you can see from his first game here, look at that starting 11. He stripped it back to basics. Azpilicueta was playing in the back 3 as a centre-back. He had Hudson-Odoi as a wing-back. He had Olivier Giroud starting as the number 9. He really looked to simplify it, bring the experienced players back into the team and simplify the game and give everybody a platform to perform at their best level. And this saw huge success. Tuchel going unbeaten from his first game against Wolves in that 0-0 that we just showed you, onto a 14 unbeaten streak, only conceding 2 goals in those 14 games. Of course, we know the rest of the story. Chelsea go on to win the UCL. Tuchel papers over those cracks. He turns Chelsea into a well-oiled machine, and they win the Champions League, beating Manchester City 1-0 in the final. In his first full season at Chelsea, Chelsea averaged just 9 shots against them per 90, which is the 3rd least in the Premier League. They also held the 3rd most possession in the league with 62.2%. The only 2 teams beating them out on both metrics were Manchester City and Liverpool. And again, we can take this back to Tuchel stripping it back, simplifying things, and providing Chelsea with that spine and structure they needed to succeed. And then you can assess his time at Bayern as well. Joining mid-season, March 24th, 2023, Tuchel just about managed to scrape Bayern to that Bundesliga title, adding that to his CV now, so he's now got a Bundesliga title along his other many accolades. But it wasn't that pretty. Of course, it went down to the last day. Dortmund drew 2-2 with Mainz to throw away that title, but Tuchel still came in and he still managed to win it. Then you go into his first full season at Bayern, and yes, the German Giants were pipped to the title by Alonso's amazing and rampant Leverkusen side, but Bayern still averaged 61.3% possession, which was the 2nd highest in the league behind Bayer Leverkusen, and averaged 10.4 shots against them per 90, again only beaten by Bayer Leverkusen. So the overarching point here brings me back to this guy. Tuchel's side don't concede loads of shots. They tend to hold good possession of the ball and allows them to control games and remain steady. Again, talking about that base structure that he's providing for his team. United last season, they only averaged 50.4% possession and a ludicrous 17.6 shots against them per 90. The 2nd most shots in the league against them per 90, only beat by Sheffield United. So, could Tuchel be the guy to turn it around, steady the ship, and just simplify the selection and take that noise down a level at Manchester United, quiet the noise, and just see how it goes from there? Let's take a look at how it could look if he was to take over in terms of squad selection. And that brings us on to the fun bit, where we get to build the Manchester United team for Thomas Tuchel and how it would look. So let's start from the get-go. It's going to be Onana in goal. The ball playing from Onana, you could probably get a little bit more out of him in terms of that long ball and what he can offer you with that long ball. But Tuchel isn't going to be as sort of predominant at playing out from the back. But what he will allow Onana to do is hit those long balls, especially to those forwards that we're going to speak about in a bit, to try and play direct at times. The back 3, this could really go any way. You could have Lisandro, Maguire and De Ligt until Euro is back. Then you could see one of Maguire or De Ligt dropped. De Ligt goes central and Euro comes in, for example. I think that this is a good way of setting up that back three. I think it offers stability. I think a lot of these players will excel more in a back three, where there's a bit more protection. Someone like Martinez can be a little bit more on the ball. He can be that sort of third centre back, really getting his touches and looking to progress play through the lines into the double pivot, which I think is the most important part of this team, right? Because I think the thing that Tuchel offers you is a lot more structure and a lot more protection, as I said, with the three defenders in terms of ground covering for the two midfielders. So, of course, one of them is going to be Kobbie Mainoo. I think he would really benefit from Thomas Tuchel joining the club. I think just the structure around him, having almost this 3-2 base with wing backs who can support the build up, but also can support the attacking lines. I just think that level of stability is going to help Mainoo. Then in here, I think he would start with Casemiro because I think, again, if we're sort of using the correlations to the Chelsea time for Tuchel, he instantly came in and he looked to really, as we spoke about earlier, to bring in a lot of the experienced heads. And I think with Casemiro, if that sort of ground covering is taken away from him, he's still made a few mistakes this season, but I could see him maybe starting with Casemiro and then phasing into an Agate slowly alongside Mainoo. Again, I think Agate would look better with a three at the back. I think it'd allow him to sort of roam a little bit more, really start to roam and make challenges in this area of the pitch and start quick attacks by getting it into those forwards. So let's say that it goes with that in the meantime, I guess, like eventually. Could also see Eriksen in that role, again with a bit more protection. For this one, I would go Mazraoui and Dalot. At least until Luke Shaw's back. Of course, when Luke Shaw's back, you have the options. Dalot I put on the right, even though he's been playing a little bit more at left back, and Mazraoui's been playing at right back. But I think that if another manager came in, I think especially because Mazraoui's worked with Tuchel, Mazraoui's got a good enough left foot, and I think I would be utilising that in the sense of getting forward down that left hand side and that ability to almost cut inside as well. So that would be sort of the way I set up the base for the team. Again, there's many options. So when Shaw's back, you have that too, even Malacia. Next is sort of the front three, which I think is the really fun bit for United. And also, just to mention, I think Anthony could even make a little appearance in one of these roles. We saw Hudson-Odoi do it at Chelsea. Could be the sort of thing that Anthony maybe to revive his career at Man U could be something he tries. Again, the main thing for me is it's all about structure in this team. I think that what this provides Man United with is a base to perform, a platform where they can be a little bit more structured and just they don't have to cover as many gaps, and it's just going to ease them back in, even if it's just their stability first in terms of defense, and then try to make chances which will fall for the likes of Bruno Fernandes. He'd be, again, a bit like what Mount did at Chelsea. If you're going to play those inside forwards, Fernandes has roam. He can come out here to collect the ball. He can get close to the box and play off the striker. I just think this inside right channel or inside right forward position is going to be perfect for Fernandes. Up front, I think Højlund or Xerxes works here. I think it depends on different things. I think Højlund gives you a little bit more in the box if Dalot and Mazraoui are getting down the wing and they're putting in balls into the box to attack. I think Højlund gives you a little bit more in that sense with Fernandes attacking. You could also play Xerxes in one of these positions, which would be really interesting. I actually think that would really suit him, which would be a way of getting both of them in the team. But of course, Rashford is probably going to play off that left. That leaves a question for the likes of Garnacho and Ahmad, because I really like Ahmad, and of course Mount when he returns, because Tuchel's worked with Mount. But if you just look at that sort of top line there of these forwards, I think there's just a lot of options with that front three. Like I said, you could even try Garnacho as one of the wing backs. Ahmad would be really good in one of these inside forward roles. I think Xerxes can play any of the three, really. I think that's a really good option to have. Mount, we know, can play in these roles because he did it under Tuchel. I wouldn't even be surprised if he was tested in one of these roles at any point. I think he played that a few times in the deeper roles for Chelsea with the injuries of Jorginho and Kovacic or Kante. So that is probably the team that I would say for Manchester United. But again, as I've said, there's loads of options. When Shaw's back, it throws a massive thing in the works. If Casemiro maybe starts over Agate for the beginning, Eriksen could definitely be turned to in terms of an experienced head. And again, these forward options, I think they've got a lot. But I think the main thing to really sort of touch on with this setup is just that overall structure and that overarching structure that it gives Manchester United, and just stability to almost ride the storm and not get completely blown open like they did against Spurs, for example, where they were just terrible and the ball was just not sticking. There was no patterns of play. It just felt really, really rugged from Manchester United, and Spurs walked all over them. I think what Tuchel can do is just provide that little bit more structure to platform and start from the very basics. And that's what he did at Chelsea when he first came into. They got that 0-0 draw against Wolves straight away because he brought in the experience. He went to a back three and he shored things up. And I think that's exactly what Manchester United need right now. I just think they need to shore it up and almost play with just a set structure to defend the game, and then look for little moments of magic from the likes of Mainu, Rashford, Fernandes, especially Fernandes in this sort of free role. And again, look to win those games by narrower margins, but a little bit more control, and just don't look so disjointed and all over the place. And I think that will do Manchester United the world of good. So the overall message of this video is essentially that I think Tuchel could stabilise the ship at Manchester United in a similar way that he did at Chelsea. I think he papered over a lot of cracks at Chelsea, winning that UCL. I think he came in at a good time. He got the squad and he just simplified it. He used the experienced players to his advantage. He got people on side and then he built upwards from there. And I just think that's exactly what Manchester United need to do now. I think they need to start from scratch. They need to go back to basics. I think a 3-back formation will help them do that and solidify them as they try to grow and progress with their squad, because their squad isn't bad. They've got some good players. And I think if you platform them well, they get confident and then you start to go strength to strength. I think that's the best way to approach this Manchester United team, especially in the short term. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know if you think Tuchel is the man for Manchester United. Again, being a Chelsea fan, I hope not. I hope he doesn't go there. But if he does, I do think it's the perfect appointment for them as a club. Let me know where you stand on things. Drop a like to support the video, and I'll be back with more content very soon.